Fala, pessoal do SharpCast, muito bom dia, muito boa tarde ou boa noite, vai depender de que horas que vocês estão nos assistindo. Estou aqui mais uma vez para gravar mais um podcast com vocês. E antes da gente continuar, antes da gente apresentar nosso convidado e quem vai estar aqui com a gente hoje, vamos falar dos nossos patrocinadores, a BetDex e a BetBra. Para quem não conhece, eu acho bem difícil, mas a BetBra é uma parceira nossa aqui que, antes de nos patrocinar, ela já estava presente nas nossas operações diárias. A gente sempre utilizou ela aqui para poder fazer as nossas apostas e tudo mais. E ela é uma book que funciona como um espelho, tanto como da Pinnacle como a Betfair. Ou seja, ela é uma book, uma sportsbook, e também é uma exchange. Então lá você vai conseguir fazer suas apostas, tanto como no modelo exchange, como no modelo sportsbook, e vai conseguir de quebra uma das melhores odds do mercado, porque eles são um espelho da Pinnacle, então ali vocês vão ter ótimas odds. Além disso, eles contam com funcionalidades extras que vocês não vão encontrar em nenhum lugar, como planejamento automático de tips. Então, se vocês ficarem interessados, basta escanear o QR Code que está em algum lugar aqui da tela, ou clicar no link aqui embaixo, que vocês vão ser direcionados direto para lá, beleza? E também vamos falar da BetDex. A BetDex, que está aí com a gente também, que é uma exchange, ela é dos mesmos fundadores da FanDuel, uma das maiores casas de apostas do mundo, não sei se vocês conhecem. E eles são uma exchange aí com uma pegada bem moderna. Eles têm uma tecnologia bem diferenciada, bem inovadora, que é utilizando os mesmos padrões ali que hoje as criptomoedas utilizam, que é algo de extrema segurança, de extrema velocidade. Então, com isso, eles conseguem garantir odds excelentes, são uma das melhores do mercado também, e eu tenho certeza que vocês vão gostar demais. Então, se vocês estão a fim de conferir, o link está aqui embaixo na nossa descrição, fechou? Então, sem mais enrolação, bora chamar os nossos convidados do dia.
Bom dia, pessoal. Uma vez mais estamos aqui de novo para vos apresentar um convidado muito especial. Hoje estou sozinho, o Divino e o Lucas, por razões de força maior, à última da hora, não puderam estar aqui presentes connosco. Acho que, mesmo assim, vou tentar fazer aqui o melhor para que corra tudo bem e queria-vos apresentar desde já um convidado inglês que vive fora da Inglaterra e que trabalha com modelos e com risco e trabalha para a Plannatech, o Oliver Gibbons. Holly, how do you do? Good evening and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Oi, nice to be here.
Okay. So you're an Englishman yourself. Can you explain us a little bit how do you get into the world of sports betting? Being English is not difficult to enter this, but your path is some kind of different from many. So could you explain us a little bit?
Of course, yeah. Well, firstly, thank you for having me on the podcast. What an honor. Thank you very much. Yeah, my path towards this business, very unique one, like you said. Obviously, like you say, every Englishman pretty much bets. Yeah, that's without doubt. My journey really began after and during kind of university. I started learning about arbitrage when I was studying mathematics at Edinburgh University, started dabbling in that a little bit. I got to the end of my degree program and basically thought that there has to be something a bit more fun in life than using math to become a banker or work in the stock market. That's really the origin of it.
But when you explain to your family, well, look, I have a degree. I'm a formed quant mathematician. I'm going into the sports betting world. How did they react? I'm telling you this because nowadays there is kind of a lot of news about the industry itself, and most of those news are that this is an industry with full of problems, gambling awareness, all those kind of wonky culture nowadays. It's very complex. Did your family took it easily?
There were some definite confused faces in the room when I told them. Even probably some palpable disappointment, to be honest with you. I think it'd been a foregone conclusion that I was probably going to end up being a banker, stock market trader, that kind of thing, something responsible, grown up adult. But yeah, I think, that disappointment kind of faded pretty quickly. I think with, many things in life, people go to university, people go through their entire like school system education and actually have no idea what most people like do for jobs in the greater wide world, do they? Everyone just, thinks about things in terms of like doctors, teachers, nurses. No one really thinks about all of these different macro finance applications. But for sure, when I told them, they had this kind of seedy idea that I was going to be standing at a racetrack the next day or writing, compiling odds on the back of a cigarette packet, for sure. Like that, I mean, I didn't even know what to really expect. To be fair, I'd done the responsible thing almost all of my life, tried hard in school, didn't take a gap year when, all of my mates had kind of done all that stuff, tried really hard at university, got through that grind. That was obviously, pretty difficult. And I think I just got to the end of that journey, that whole education, like setting yourself up for the big part of your life. And I kind of thought to myself, and I was encouraged by someone as well, to maybe just try doing something a bit different, like you're only young once. So honestly, yeah, I mean, were there a lot better paying jobs out there that I could have taken 100%. But I thought it would be, a fun little thing I could do for like 1 or 2 years. And so, I applied for a job at Skybet, great company. That definitely made it a little bit more palatable for my family because BSkyB, massive institution in the UK, and Skybet was pretty fledgling at that time. This is kind of back in 2010. So they're an established company, don't get me wrong, but they definitely weren't the powerhouse that I think they are today. So yeah, I mean, really just left university, thought, give this a try. I love sports. I did like betting. I was kind of getting into the whole betting stuff on the side. So, this was a perfect opportunity to go do something a bit different, build up my resume a little bit, build up my CV. And, I think I still had plenty of other opportunities in my life if, I got to the end of 6 months, 18 months, 2 years and thought, oh, well, time to go become a real grown up.
Yeah, but your path from a data scientist, I think that data science was your major. I'm not sure your degree was, but after data science to Skybet, what kind of roles did you have in Skybet, and how do you get to a group so much bigger? I think Plannatech nowadays is one of the most advanced structures in the world. So that's why. What's the route? Many want to follow that, but for sure your talent and your expertise nowadays, there is something that took you there. Can you elaborate about this path a little bit?
For sure. So this path has been long and windy. Like my background in data science is not really actually the case. I was actually a total pure mathematician at school, much to my chagrin now. Like I really screwed up probably. I really wish I'd taken more data science courses when I was at university. Yeah, really all I cared about when I was at university was becoming the best mathematician I could be, which, doing all sorts of crazy joules of algebra and wild stuff in Hilbert spaces. And I did almost no applied mathematics at all, no data science. I mean, I think I even did quite a bunch of mathematical philosophy courses. So really, I came out of university with no knowledge of data science really, or what the power of that was. The only thing that I had that gave me like a little inkling of what could be out there was not really on the data science side. It was really actually doing a few courses in financial mathematics and learning about these concepts. Like I've already kind of mentioned, like I learned about this concept of arbitrage and how it applied to mathematical finance, and thought, well, I mean, the first thing I thought of was sports betting, and I'd already like learned a few dirty tricks along the way. But yeah, I immediately thought, oh, I mean, there has to be arbitrage opportunities inside sports betting. And I wasn't wrong. So really, like I jump in from being like a math graduate, jump into working at Skybet, and immediately I'm kind of thrust in the deep end with a bunch of other young graduates, and we're all working on a risk desk, basically as junior risk traders, doing like macro risk analysis across the whole book. So we weren't really dedicated to a sport. They were like traders who were obviously just dedicated to, oh, he's a golf trader, he's a horse racing trader, he's a football trader. He trades American sports, this, that, and the other. And then really like the majority of the reactions, and obviously, it's pretty well known, like most of the books in the UK, they're all pretty recreational, don't allow sharp bettors. Really, our job was just to like manage the liabilities and try and like catch arbors, limit them, kick them out. At the time, I thought it was really cool. Looking back on it, obviously, I think it's a lot less cool. And definitely as I worked there, so that was something that definitely kind of started growing and growing and growing inside of me. It's just like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we constantly kicking people out? This doesn't make any sense. Like, why are we not leveraging this information? Limiting people down to pennies, it just seems like not crazy. I mean, obviously, I understand why they did it. They're a publicly traded company. They're responsible to report to their shareholders, all that kind of stuff. But, I felt it was a waste of an opportunity for sure to like not leverage that information a lot better. And also, my career there kind of developed a little bit. I kind of made a bit of a weird move and started like a night trading operation there because like I say, they weren't a startup, to be honest with you, but they were still kind of like junior in their like growth. And really like, it was like, trading starts at like 6 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then everyone went home at like 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. That's it, done. And, there was a lot of, stuff being left on the table in terms of like the NFL was growing in popularity. No one was really like staying through the night and offering the late game on Monday night. And no one was really like trading all the baseball through the night, all that kind of stuff. So there were opportunities there. So I did that for a little bit. And then also kind of on the side, I was, developing some skills as like a modeler, building like lots of derivative models, doing lots of other stuff, building up my skills in SQL, learning how to do like comprehensive querying so that we could better like do profiling of our players, segmentation profiling, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I was obviously very grateful for the time I had there. Picked up a lot of skills, met a lot of very, very nice people. But yeah, that's really kind of how I started out in this game. And kind of like I say, those feelings that I mentioned kind of kept on building up. Like, I don't want to say working for a soft book, but like my hunger was definitely there. And also my betting kind of on the side had accelerated where, I was kind of keen to like start accelerating my career at that point.
Yeah, I understand the process. 2010 more or less was like 200 years ago in betting years. So things tend to go a lot fast in this industry now, especially nowadays with so many Web3 based protocols entering the game and liquidity pools being so, I don't know, maybe so diverse. Everybody nowadays, even betting syndicates, tend to have their own sports books and their own exchanges, so they can grab part of those liquidities for themselves. But the curious thing I think is because everybody nowadays is trying to be sharp. Everybody nowadays tends to find for edges, and I still think with a good reason that you still have very good arbitrage opportunities over there, and no one seems to be a sharp arbor nowadays. Do you feel the same? There are still very good opportunities in the arbitrage space.
So, I mean, my days in the arbitrage game are, yeah, like you say, like a long time ago. And really, like, it's actually something I kind of regret, because all it did was it blue torched so many accounts for me for when I actually did get smart, when I actually was able to start modeling stuff, making originating bets. Like I'd burned so many bridges and gone through so many grandmothers' accounts, it actually like made my life it cost me money actually, probably in the long run, of like making a few £1,000 here and there betting arbs and betting other kind of like low-hanging fruit stuff, taking advantage of NFL player props or indoor arena league football opening lines. It's stuff that a reckless young man would do, but part of that's also how you like sharpen yourself as a tool in this world.
Yeah. So you have your background in mathematics, you are going to Skybet, you start to bet on the side, you evolve yourself as a person, as a man, and you understand that there's a better opportunity to do with the information that sometimes those clients that were being limited could give you. So all this takes you to Plannatech and doing what you are doing now, because you are very your job, you have a lot of responsibility. For sure, you have many people and many decisions beneath you, and the route to Plannatech from such a sharp office. Was it direct from Skybet to Plannatech, or how was it going?
I mean, the journey was even long from there, but I guess I realized I kind of didn't like give you a direct answer to your last question. Really, if I could just kind of go back a little bit, do I think there are still arbitrage opportunities available in the UK? Good ones. Yeah, I think there are, but like really understanding like whether you're on the good side of an arbitrage or a bad side of an arbitrage, that in itself is like 99% now of the art. Like, are the arbitrages there? Yes. Like figuring out whether you're on the best of it, like it is another like huge part of this game. And
are you saying this because of the pinnacle line manipulation?
Yeah, like I mean, some of it's. I mean, that's a good example. But really, it just depends. Like someone in any arbitrage opportunity, either one side can be right, both sides can be wrong, or the other side. Sorry, yeah, it's one or the other side can really be wrong, or like both. The more unlikely situation is that both sides are wrong, right? And fundamentally, yeah, arbing's good. It's great. You can lock yourself in a profit, no risk. I mean, although that is actually very hard to execute these days. And like obviously in pre-game much easier, and live very different. But yeah, I mean, fundamentally, really, the better thing you can do once you actually like lock in your you lock your bankroll in, you've got a good bankroll, you're not that worried about cash anymore, is really like figuring out like which side is right, which side is wrong. And ultimately that's going to then basically send you where I ended up in my career, which is modeling and coming up with your own numbers and actually handicapping and doing stuff. And that's like it's better for your account longevity, and really it's going to actually be better for your wallet bankroll growth as well. Sorry, I know I'm hopping around a bit here, but yeah, I wanted to go back and answer that part.
No, not a problem. It's because even when I said arbitrage, I think I should have been more specific, because there are lots of kind of arbors, and maybe I should have said match betting, for instance, because you have in the industry, you are now having a tendency for some bookies to go to more advanced or more, let's say, rich jurisdictions, because the average bet in the US market or the Canadian market is much higher than the average bet, for instance, on, I don't know, North Africa or Nigeria. So probably bookies tend to go there, and the opportunities for match betting over there, there's $1,000 free risk bets, all those kind of offers nowadays could give good arbing opportunity, but not arb per se, but with the match betting. But then you said you took a path to Plannatech. I'm not really sure if you answered all you want to about that, or if you want to or you can explain a little bit more from Skybet to Plannatech, and then we go to the good stuff, modeling and data.
For sure. So like after Skybet, I took like a little. Well, that's kind of how I ended up moving to Costa Rica. Initially, kind of like worked at Gray Marketplace. Had some good experiences there. Kind of again sharpened my skills. And then after that, really, I took like a bit of a, well, not really a career break, but like I actually went and started like betting like by myself. That's sort of what really happened. And then after that, I ended up making my way to, I mean, that journey was long, and, you know, there were many ups and many downs. Met a lot of very nice people, met a lot of not so very nice people. But overwhelmingly, I mean, I still have like a group of guys that I work with today that we still do some betting stuff. And that stuff, I'm very glad and happy I met those guys. I believe you've even had like one of them on this podcast, maybe. And yeah, that was a very like interesting and it was a good period of my life. Made some good money, you know, enough to, you know, make a decent living. And I also, you know, that's where I really kind of sharpened up my skills in terms of like data analysis, data science, that kind of stuff. And, you know, learned the most valuable lessons that you could learn as a gambler, which is, you know, learning to figure out when you're wrong, basically.
Yeah. It's the dark arts are complex. I'm very glad you said this, because our audience, most of our audience probably are not guys from the industry, are young people. They have dreams. They want to be maybe a little bit like you. Maybe they want to succeed in a betting world that is very complex. And I have a personal opinion of mine that most of us who kind of succeed on the gambling side, even if you just succeed on the gambling side for a period, but you have a certain degree of success, we bring different stuff to the game. So besides the applied mathematicians and your desire to learn and educate yourself, probably you brought to the game other skills from things that you have learned with your family, your father, grandmother, I don't know, something you bring to the game, some characteristics that tend to make you who you are right now. So are there individual characteristics that you believe that could suit you or someone better than others? What's your edge on the game? It's not just the mathematics, because do you understand the question? Because sometimes I listen to young guys and they just look. Definitely. I have a model. My model is very sharp, and of course, in lower league Brazilian soccer, it might be sharp. They might have an advantage of some minutes from some line, but question is that's not enough. He needs other type of skill sets.
Okay, so I mean, I can definitely think of one thing for me, and that's like, I mean, it's not really a personality trait. I mean, I have, you know, pretty insane. I'm a very hyperactive individual. I've got a lot of energy, and I have pretty extreme OCD. So like, if there's something that gets inside my head, like it's a unsatiable like desire that's never satisfied, and like I'm gonna like do that thing and like for 22 hours a day and sleep like 2 hours a day. That's just kind of my own build. I mean, I guess when I grew up, I really wasn't the smartest. I really wasn't the strongest. I really wasn't that great. I mean, really, until I was probably like 15 or 16 years old, I was like the most average kid in terms of academics. And I don't know, really, like one day, I don't really know what it was. I mean, I kind of have some ideas. You know, I found out much later on in my life that I was extremely dyslexic, and that's probably why I was kind of average academically when I was like very, very young to like almost like mid-puberty. And then I don't know what it was, like around 15, I guess I think basically at that point I managed to figure out like compensatory techniques around this dyslexia, and things just started clicking for me in terms of like a mathematical sense. And after that, you know, I was kind of off to the races in terms of stuff mathematically, and that's really when I started thinking about like, I mean, I just started, you know, min-maxing kind of everything in my life. I became obsessed by this game, Football Manager, so massively.
Yeah.
I imagine everyone of like of a certain age has played this game. But yeah, I mean, I was drilling like 20 hours a day into Football Manager. I mean, and I was winning the Champions League every week and playing 20 seasons with Shrewsbury Town and winning the Champions League after 16 years. Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff. I don't know whether I've really answered your question again, but I mean,
you did.
In terms of like a personality trait.
There are characteristics.
That's the kind of thing that,
Yeah. You spoke, of course, from the personal level, but there are characteristics like hard work, maybe a little bit of hard work. When you say you are like, my choice of words, you are obsessed. When you see something, you are obsessed until you crack that phenomena down. And the hard work and the capability of focusing, that this is basically what you explained. So the knowledge that you have on the mathematics, and then later on you acquire some skills in data science, allow you to create better probabilities. And now you serve, and now you share those probabilities and sell them to others, or price them to others. So what's your day-to-day work? What's really your job? Just the modeling side? You leverage things on. Can you explain a little bit how does a day work from a managing director of trading nowadays?
Got it. So yeah, I mean, well, you kind of nailed it now. Really, I mean, you know, in terms of modeling myself, like I'm the dog that's had its day. You know, most of the time now I'm delegating to people and having them build like the models out that, you know, I've had a lot of experience building, or I've had ideas for that have been, you know, building up inside of me for 15 years now, sometimes, you know, even longer. But yeah, I mean, my day-to-day is really, managing, well, a wide set of teams. So really there's like we have like an insight team. We have like a sports math modeling team. We have an interface team. So the sports math and interface team, that's really about like building up a math model to trade live sports, and be able to price them up at any point in the game, and having an interface that can adequately interact with that mathematical logic so that a trader can adequately make decisions and affect pricing, and be able to manage their risk, and be able to, you know, adjust their position within the market and view their position in the market, and be able to service the needs of our customers in terms of betting content. So I mean, there's a lot going on with that just alone, but obviously my passion is in the sports math side, and building the proprietary algorithms that we build. You know, we've done so many different things: tennis model, football model, basketball model, soccer model, football, sorry, American football. And we've done that, all of those through many different iterations. You know, a very good colleague of mine, him and I just kind of started together, and we were really like a team of two. And honestly, I mean, nostalgically, those are the best days of my professional life. It's just two guys. Well, really, we were three guys, and we were just kind of sat down every day, almost startup style. How are we going to build a basketball model? And obviously, looking back at what we did, I mean, it was good at the time. It was good enough at the time. But, you know, we built so much better stuff now. And, you know, back then we were figuring out how do we make this simulator run in under 5 seconds? Now the simulator runs in 200 milliseconds. So, and it runs, you know, 1,000 times more simulations. So, you know, it's kind of wild, the evolution. But yeah, I mean, again, you know, humans really struggle to understand exponential growth. But yeah, it's wild, the amount of progress that we've made. It's crazy.
Yeah, and nowadays you still have to deal with adverse selection and with micro betting and so many concepts that are around your job. And you have to fight adverse selection, and you have nowadays a big part of industry nowadays, what's the new things they are talking about? Micro betting, just betting on that specific player or whatever. I think then things nowadays are much richer. I think it's fun to bet, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot of fun for sure to being on your side, making things happen as it is. But you open up another box over here, and now I have so many questions on my mind, even ones that are not in the script, but there is something important, because everybody that has a certain level of technical skills in this industry and works with data, or it is data driven, the first things, or one of the first questions that they do or we do is, what's the data quality that we work? Are you able to talk? If you are not, don't. Are you guys in-house collecting the data that you are later on going to model with? How's the process of decision making in milliseconds is affected by that data, and how do you work with that? Is third parties provide you the data, and then you just work on that? And this is some kind of questions. So you please take your best shot in trying to.
Sure. I mean, that's firstly, you mean like real-time data collection in terms of like making the model run in real time?
Yeah. And
okay.
Of course, because.
So like obviously, Plannatech, regulated company, we have to do everything, above board, and obviously that's the right way to do things. So obviously you're going to be trying to buy the data from you got to buy it from the leagues now, or the reseller of the leagues. And obviously, with those, it costs a lot of money, but with it comes, a lot of benefits, which is, you're pretty much guaranteed speed. You're guaranteed that someone's going to pick up the phone when things go wrong. So yeah, I mean, that to clear that up, obviously, to do that on a personal level is obviously something, one guy alone is obviously never going to be able to afford. Even a betting syndicate is going to struggle to afford to pay those sorts of licensing fees. Not that I'm actually like privy to how much they even really cost, but I assume they're quite expensive. But yeah, I mean, if you as a solo bettor want to acquire data to power these things to something you're building at home, yeah, I mean that's something I haven't had to think about for a while. Thank goodness.
Yeah, but the data that you are receiving, in order you have to model or to run the simulations that you said on milliseconds, that data comes directly from the league. So you are relying on third parties. You are not collecting the data that you are working on. You are just buying that data to, of course, official providers of that data, and then you are model. So the other question. Yeah. The other question that came to my mind when you explained just a while ago a little bit about Plannatech and what was your job over there, you're just working on the price side. So the trading the trading is another level, because you can have a price, someone hits you on one side, but the leverage positions inside that's with the bookie. You are just providing them a good stable prices for them to do the operation and apply their margin, or now you are more also leveraging the positions inside houses.
Yes. So yeah, to answer that specifically, yeah. But so I do actually have like a few other like teams working underneath me. Like one of them would be the kind of like the trading algorithm side. So like actually like managing, like building automation to manage risk. And then, another team is basically the team that kind of like runs the integration of like our mathematical products and then the trading team. And then to get to the final part of your question is, yeah, so Plannatech is a managed trading service. So like we're not just sending people pricing and just saying, you know, good luck guys. Like we're watching the bets come in, and we are like there, you know, managing the risk actively. Like, you know, that's really what sets us above really everybody else in that space, in my opinion. Happy for people to tell me I'm crazy or I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean, and also, you know, our philosophies are really just, you know, a lot of the stuff that, you know, I was kind of discontent with at Skybet, some of the reasons that I most love working at Plannatech, which is like, we really have a philosophy of like figuring out like, how do we leverage this information to keep making our partners and obviously us like more money. And we believe that we have the domain and the skilled people in house that we can do it, and we have been doing it.
Sure. Okay, just a final question about this risk management and decision making. Live trading, for most of us, me especially, I like to, when I make a bet, I really need to know on a certain degree of failure, but at an approximate level, I need to know what's my expected value on that bet, and I do not have edges that I can produce myself for sure on live trading. But how much does the market nowadays influence decision making in live trading? Like I compared, for instance, to those live trading models that you have. Look, we have X amount of money on this side, either because, I don't know, LeBron James is out today, or because Messi today looks very, very sharp. So there's a lot of much more liability on one side, and you have your models. How's the decision making compared? What's happening on live to the models? You have to have a balance somewhere, I think.
Absolutely. Like
sure
this isn't like an exact science. Like this is such an organic science, right? And I mean, to be honest with you, like the human intervention of a trader is still something that is very, very much necessary of like managing all of these different like macro risk factors. So yeah, I mean, your first question was like, does the market mean something? Well, it means something to us for sure. I mean, you have to respect your place in the market, and obviously you leverage your position of and your tolerance to risk, like based upon like what do you think that the value of the information you have is versus like what you think the market and the people driving the market also have, right? And like you're constantly, I mean, this is obviously something that, you know, really advanced deep learning methods are going to ultimately probably maybe come up with a solution the more that they mature, like you know, coming down the line, or with different recurrent machine learning techniques. But like still, until that day really comes, and maybe that actually never comes. I mean, I think it will, but you're going to need that human there, like managing like all of these different factors, like what's our action, like what's happened in the game that like maybe like throws like all of the action we've taken in the past like is meaningless, right? Obviously, great example would be, you know, when Manchester City plays, you know, if Erling Haaland suddenly pulls up in the 36th minute, right, kind of all of those bets on Man City, like minus a quarter that we've taken versus Chelsea, like for the last 5 minutes, they're kind of meaningless now. Like their value in that information, like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of, you know, it's gone. Like we're playing like a completely different soccer game now, right?
Yeah, that's a good example. That's a good example. So if you have to bet one dime, which not say markets, but which are the ones that are going to erode those edges first? Where will the edges evaporate first, in life or pre-life, in your opinion? In life, maybe. I mean,
that's so broad, but like, where do I think they'll? I mean, I think that pre-game is much easier to tighten up. Like it's so easy to tighten up. There's so much less going on there, right? I mean, and even then, I'm thinking that and saying that, and I don't know. I mean, you've got different unique challenges pre-game and live trading, right? Pre-game, you're trading for a much longer time, and really fundamentally not much is changing until you find out that, you know, somebody fell over and banged their big toe in the middle of the night and they can't play the next day, right? And then the line moves, and then, you know, the whole market moves, and then ultimately that's a rat race to try and get that information first so you can make your move and adjust and, you know, hopefully actually be the first guy out there and actually write bets on the other side first. That's really it, right? So I mean, like, you got that challenge in the pregame. I mean, I can't really say one or the other, but I mean, ultimately, if you're a bettor, like, and you're trying to like find edges, the edges you're always going to be able to find are like where people aren't really paying attention. So, you know, if you're trying to beat Premier League soccer, good luck.
No,
if you're trying to bet the NFL, good luck. I mean, if you're trying to bet MLB baseball, really good luck. I mean, you're just not going to, you one guy, not possible. It's just not possible.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know. The question. I should have elaborated a little bit more, but the question has to do with some kind of doubts that are crossing my mind nowadays, because you have an equilibrium between the soft price on the early market and the inability that you have to scale up on that number, because there is no liquidity available on the market for you to scale up with the early prices. Still, the early prices, because they are soft, if I'm completely wrong, please just say, look, just say you're crazy, but being soft number, you have the possibility to create your own edges, trying to escalate on that number. Meaning, everybody's focused on the pricing. I think nowadays, for me, on the syndicate side, is much more important to find edges, trying to scale up on soft numbers than they were, because all the industry nowadays tends to have less available liquidity. And when I'm saying this, I'm saying the Asian market is shifted. SingBet is not offering the liquidity it was offering, especially for strong syndicates like it was. Probably some others in the future will change. So I think nowadays we need to find resilience, and probably we need to find better ways to scale in weak numbers than we needed some time ago. So when I ask you what's the idea on this, is because you have so many eyes in live. You have the guys on the exchanges, like Betfair market is insane. If you think about the cricket opportunities, you have games of cricket with millions being traded on a single game. And when I say millions, it's over millions. So
yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
My idea on this is like, everybody is taking a look at the prices, what's the price they can get, but the balance between price and scalability on those prices, on those numbers, for me is key question now. And when I ask you this was because I thought your answer was going to be clearly, look, nowadays in live trading is almost perfect, and you still need to work on a softer number with less degree of information, more time to game time events. So that's my opinion, but you are the man inside the engine room, so you have a personal opinion of yourself about this.
I definitely don't think it's perfect. Like, I definitely do not think that the world of live trading is perfect, and I think there are still like plenty of decent edges out there, just purely because, like, even like, I'm sure there's just so many weird like pockets in sports that, you know, are under-modeled. I mean, just if you think about like the end game of sports, I mean, that is like almost impossible to model, right? You know, modeling the end game of an NFL game, I mean, it's almost impossible for most people to do. You need to have actually, like myself, like watched like thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of football and really understand like the game of like American football to really like understand like oh, we've never actually seen this situation. Like, what do they do here? Like, I mean, and you really have to like, I mean, I've made some we've done so many weird things with in-game logic. I mean, I mean, in terms of like, do I think that the live line is like massively efficient? Yeah, I think it is reasonably efficient. But do I think there are still like pockets and opportunities there? Yeah, absolutely. Just because so many of these questions are like so hard to like define in a simulator. I mean, or in some sort of deterministic model. It's very hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit of future and the challenges, because nowadays in the industry, apart from the liquidity problems that I spoke a little bit, and so many liquidity pools nowadays, what are for you the main challenges facing the sports betting industry? Like, is it the line manipulation? Is it regulatory issues? What's your biggest
for sure
adversary on this?
Well, okay. Can I take this as two different questions? Like, one is a better, one is a bookie, like, or as a provider or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean,
probably...
yeah, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so as a better, I mean, obviously it's liquidity. Like, I mean, like you mentioned, you know, Asia's kind of been, I mean, the Asian market is like massively depressed. You know, if you look back 10 years ago, the Asian market was just so robust, right? And there was just, I mean, if you wanted to get down 100K on like even the most like rancid of soccer games, like you could do it easy peasy lemon squeezy. But like now, I mean, you're trying to get down on a Brazilian Serie B game. I mean, I don't even know how, you know, most of your audience like kind of get down on that stuff, even if they were just a recreational gambler. I mean, to be fair, doing that is impossible. So yeah, I mean, as a better, obviously the liquidity pool is a big problem, right? And you know that the Asian market is kind of like, I personally believe that will probably come up again. I believe this is probably some sort of weird cyclical cycle that we're in. You know, I think these things go up and they go down. So yeah, liquidity is a big problem. The other thing is, I guess, you know, it's part of the same problem. Is just like figuring out how to like get into a jurisdiction to get your money down. Like with these new jurisdictions opening up, maybe in the United States or other places around the world, is like figuring out how to, like, you know, get your money to a mate so he can get you down, kind of thing, or find, you know, a group or a syndicate, or, you know, being able to get accounts. And again, I mean, I think there are so many problems, but again, the other big problem is there are not that many places in the world that will take a bet. That's the biggest thing. Like, people are scared to take a bet now. It's kind of sad. Like, the art of bookmaking is really disappearing from this world, and really all that's kind of like left is you have these like marketing institutions that kind of, you know, that they're doing what they have to do. They're, you know, they're making money, but really, you know, it's kind of makes me want to vomit when you see all this kind of like insane same game parlay stuff, and people are paying, you know, they're not even like really seeing the vig that they're paying on these bets. Yeah, I mean, that's the other big problem is, yeah, like no one takes a bet anymore, and you know, the stuff that they really want you betting on is just dross. You know, you can't win betting it. You're never going to win betting it.
Yeah. And the industry level, you say the regulatories are not a massive problem in your opinion nowadays?
As an operator, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just did one half, right? So that was as a book. I think. Yeah. I mean, sorry, as a gambler. Yeah, I mean, as a book, like, you know, this isn't by me my I guess forte talking about this, but yeah, I mean, I do sit on the sidelines and see what's happening, you know, up in the States right now, and yeah, I feel like, you know, there's a lot of dropping the ball on some of this regulatory stuff. How they, you know. There's a lot of bureaucrats making a lot of decisions that probably have never placed a bet in their life, and they're making it incredibly hard for, you know, people to set up a shop there and take bets. I mean, it's yeah,
Yeah.
very difficult.
I live in Portugal, and the fiscal policy over here towards sports betting is not GGR driven. So I know what you understand. They are just they are just taxing the turnover on bookies. So they can't give you a price. It's impossible to have good pricing when you have like 15% of your turnover being taxed. They have to. So there are some jurisdictions, but for instance, the Brazilian laws now that they have passed, and it's a very good. I think it's a very structured and a very good package. And I think now that I'm pretty sure now more than ever that Brazil will be maybe the second or third biggest hub for sports betting in the world for the next 10 years, because it's a massive country. Everybody loves sports, and the regulatory package that they have implemented and are going to implement is very solid. At least this first version of it. So, challenging being said, and you being a frequentist, probably mathematician, how do you see AI integrating on all of this? The game is changing again, no?
I mean, to be honest with you, the game changed a long time ago. So, I mean, really, that was something that I immersed myself in probably 6 to 7 years ago. And really, I mean, everything's become so much more popularized these days, but we've been building in-house AI tools, for as long as I've been here, really. And, the whole kind of, I don't want to call it populist, but I mean, it's become like a part of the zeitgeist now, AI. But this has been like machine learning's been practiced and studied for years, and really, all we're seeing right now is a boom, because right now we're in like they actually have like terminologies for it. So they have like an ice age, and then they have like a warming up period of AI, and we're basically at the apex right now of AI making significant innovations. But this thing is, again, it's a very secular thing, and a lot of the technology that's kind of coming about now, it's been worked on in a lot of the stuff with neural networks, other different machine learning technologies. They've been around, and people have been working hard on these platforms for the last like 10 years. Particularly, the companies like Facebook, other companies like Google, they've basically absorbed all of these big AI companies. And then you also have like really cool companies like Hugging Faces. There's been a community that's been building up and growing, but really it hadn't just hit the mainstream media until today, right? And the advent of ChatGPT in the last 2 years has been wild and basically skyrocketed it. And now it's something that my mum and dad talk about, which is unfathomable like 10 years ago. That's kind of what's happened. But I mean, in terms of how important is it to like what I do, couldn't do my job without it. I mean, it's the most important thing that I work on and my teams work on right now is building up our in-house machine learning capabilities.
Some episodes ago, we had sharp sports bettors with slightly different answers, but being honest with you, and this coming from you, I'm happy, because everybody's tendency to have only half through. I'm stating this truth just until a certain amount of degree, and you were very clear to me. So for me, for one of my last questions, the episode is
maybe
recorded,
I can clarify one thing. Like, you're not going to be able to like type into ChatGPT, "Hey, I need you to find me a 3% edge on the Botafogo game tonight." But yeah, like
but there are so many technologies, swarm intelligence, machines learning, and so there are so many derivatives of the AIs nowadays. So for sure, but the problem now that you have to help me solve to our audience is, okay, I'm a new guy. I like sports. I know a little bit about finance and how all the game mechanics works. So help me improve the game. How can I play the game? What is your advice for guys entering the industry? And I know so many. I spoke, and this is true. I spoke last weeks with young guys. They are in trading rooms somewhere in the bookie side nowadays, and they said, look, I don't want to work no more for the dark side. I want to go, and I think I can succeed it. I think I want to make my living betting on sports, and I need your help in scaling, getting down, those kind of stuff. So what's your advice, and how do you see these betters, these skillful betters starting out and beginning their operations? What's your advice for them?
It's a fantastic question. If I could take a time machine back and talk to myself like 12, 15 years ago, don't bite off more than you can chew. Find something where you believe you can like exploit an edge. And I think the most important thing that nobody really thinks about is to think about, okay, like what is my realistic bankroll, and having that guide like your workflow and figuring out like what you're going to like pick as your edge to exploit, right? So if you're a new guy, you need to figure out what your bankroll is. If it's 50 quid, it's 50 quid or $50 or whatever. I know you guys use the real, but I can't for the life of me remember what the exchange rate is. I'm sorry.
They're low, unfortunately. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you go for it.
No. Sorry, I interrupt you. I said the real nowadays is a very weak currency compared to dollars or euros. But even if we find the real, I think if you don't operate on a certain level with some kind of efficiency, is pretty much complex to because you have so many swings, you see, because you have so many swings, and sometimes you can be on the right side, but a bad swing breaks your trust, breaks your confidence. So it's a much complex idea. But you were talking about how you were, if it was Oliver Gibbons, now he's going to start. He has $500,000 bankroll, and he has two friends from college. One of them is his friend for life. What's your advice to Ollie now?
Okay, so well, $500,000 is a pretty decent bankroll. So I guess I was thinking maybe we start a little smaller than that. Let's just say you're a few friends from college and you got like $75,000. I mean, or maybe $50,000, right? Okay, so I mean, firstly, you got to get that Kelly calculator out and figure out what your bet sizes are, right, for your edge. And then when you figure out, okay, my bankroll is like 50,000. Okay, well, this opens up more possibilities to me than if my bankroll was 500,000, like you said, or if it was 5 million. So instead of if it was at that 5 million level, well, now I have to basically start looking at big sports, and I have to start looking at like just trying to find like 0.5% to 1% edges, right? I mean, the joy that you have as a beginning bettor is that you can really just pick whatever you want, like whether it's betting on like NBA player props or NFL player props. I mean, that is something like nice that you can dig your teeth into, or finding some other like really small sport that you could potentially handicap and come up with some cool ideas. And I mean, so that's one thing, right? Is like figuring out, okay, well, how big's my bankroll, and like what opportunities does that offer to me, right? Because if your bankroll is big, you can forget about NFL player props. You're never gonna get down enough money to make that thing like grow. Actually, now I'm saying out loud, NFL player props you could actually probably still do at $500,000, but maybe not NBA or hockey or NHL or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, that's it. Like figure that out and just find something and concentrate on it. Get your data sorted and just try and find like one thing. Just comb through the data. Like, and don't spend too long on just one thing. Just like take a look at the data, then take a break, go do something else, go kick a football, like come back, look at it again, talk to, and especially if you've got some mates, that's really great. Then you can talk about it, talk about exploiting your edges. So that's one thing, okay? And setting up just basically, okay, where am I going to find my edge potentially? And then once you think you found something, okay, well, again, it's about keeping the scope small. This is what I can't stress enough. And, trying to build a model that isn't going to solve the whole world's problems, but it's something that you can just get a prototype just done. So many bettors that I've met, or guys that start and they just wake up one day and they say, oh, I want to become a bettor. They just try and do too much stuff. And really, the first thing you need to do is get a working simulator or machine learning model, or a hybrid or a deterministic model or a deterministic machine learning model hybrid. Get something working. Okay. Once you've done that, you've literally done probably 80% of your work. And then the other part is then back testing it. You've got to then basically then figure out do I have an edge? How did this actually perform against data that I haven't used to model? And am I going to make money? And then you validate that, and then you come up with a strategy. That's really the most that's kind of the blueprint of how you would do that. Really simple, basic, but yeah, I can't stress enough, just get the basics done. Don't try and overcomplicate yourself, because that's the whole point of them building features, right? You get something done, and then you make it better, and then you make it better, and then you make it better. And you need to also probably accept that the first thing you produce is going to be shit. It's going to be bad, and you're going to be working on this for a while before you find something that actually is going to make you money. And yeah, speaking from even current experience, probably 75% of your ideas and efforts is going to be wasted, and it's going to not work. But that is going to breed more ideas and more ideas. It might not even be an idea that you end up using on this particular project. It's probably going to be something that you were working on these NBA player props. All of a sudden you pick up that, the soccer handicapping model you're doing for Brazilian Serie B soccer. And then you suddenly think, well, I thought about doing this on these NFL player props, but I couldn't really find a good application. I didn't think it would work, but maybe it might work here. I constantly find myself having those kind of light bulb moments all the time where I thought, oh, I did actually think about doing this on this thing. Maybe I'll give it a try here. And, and those end up actually being the ideas that often work a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I know that was kind of a bit of a waffly answer, but yeah, I hope.
No, that's fantastic. No, Ollie, I thank you, because it was a fantastic answer. It was clarifying. But the problem is when you are talking with a Latin guy like me, and you have a great answer like that, two more questions come into my mind. So
can I answer one more thing as well?
Of course.
The other thing that that most I've seen so many much smarter guys than I have blowtorched millions of their bankrolls, or thousands of their bankrolls, or smarter guys than me that got started, and I thought they were going to become overnight millionaires. But the one thing that most guys get wrong is really bankroll management. Can't stress that enough. Seen so many guys that I thought were really sharp just ruined by the fact that they don't know how to manage a bankroll. And that's so key. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that.
Look, I'm 44. I started betting small money after my graduation on economics, and then I have a chess player background, and I went into poker. And then when poker boom started, I get out of poker and went to sports betting. And one of the things I think is more important is the ability to execute well your edges. Execution for me is key factor into growing up bankrolls and those kind of things. You spoke a little bit in your answer about the Kelly criteria. Of course, I assume you are speaking of fractional Kelly, because guys with bad swings could blow up. So assuming we are speaking of fractional Kelly criteria, what's your thoughts, being you a guy with a huge responsibility on your back? What's your thoughts on the scalability with parlay betting, for instance, and how do you think that can affect the way a smart syndicate can get down nowadays? And I'm not just stating this for US market, because US market is special market, but for instance, in sports like soccer, let's call it soccer, because you and me being from Europe, we would call it football, but let's call it soccer for the broader audience. Soccer is a low scoring sport, so the matrix of results, maybe 80% of the results would be between 0-0 and 2-2. You cannot scale inside so many handicaps. What's your thoughts on parlays?
Fantastic question. Just quick aside is on the whole soccer subject, I think if any of my family end up listening to this podcast, they're probably going to disown me, because they're football people. But parlays are I mean, I don't want to give away too many of my little secrets, but parlays were a way that I grew my bankroll like probably the most, and being able to figure out how to like parlay my edges together. And grow my, I mean, for sure, if you can figure this out, this is how you go from being a really good bettor to a like very, very good bettor, is figuring out how to actually like increase your bankroll growth through betting your parlays. However, I will qualify this. This is one of the hardest things I've had to figure out, like in my professional betting career. And it comes with a lot of risk, right? If you get things wrong, if you actually don't have edges, it's the quickest way to like torch your bankroll. And I mean, even if you do have edges, again, bankroll management is so key here, because there will be so much more volatility now you're betting parlays than you were betting straight bets. That's guaranteed. I mean, and the highs are going to be very high, and the lows are going to really, really suck. But
It's complex, but okay, you answered me. So for my final question, and this is for sure, before I just thank you. Just a little while ago, I'm memorizing what you said a while ago, and some things are coming to me, and I have, of course, a question that I would like to ask you. You spoke a while ago on the same game parlays, because same game parlays is a fantastic product for the industry, because most of not really skillful sports bettors are just going to bet not on a team. Nowadays, they are going to bet on a specific player or whatever. But don't you think same game parlays, even if they have some correlations or bigger juice on their lines, will allow the compounding of some expected value some days, and can be a risk, at least a risk to not so sharp Plannatech power provided in sports books?
That's a really good question. If I understand you, you're saying like, do you think it's possible to basically cultivate some edges in this product, even though it's kind of got very wide margins for the sportsbook? Yeah, I mean, to answer your question very directly, yeah, absolutely. There are going to be things that you could model better. That, I mean, I guess we haven't really talked about this yet, but I mean, the job as a bookmaker is a significantly different challenge than being being a bookie is very different from being a bettor, right? Being a bettor is all about picking cherries, right? And finding little like nuggets like here, right? And you find these little things and they're shiny and they're brilliant, and you just try and like find these things. And you find them, and then you wait for those things to happen again. And it's very selective. And then when it's happened, you go and you make your order and you get your like bet, and that's how that works, right? Bookies are just trying to take this macro view of basically trying to get like as much action as possible, and trying to like generalize a line as much as possible, generalize modeling, and generally just get something up that's going to work most of the time. And obviously that's where your beta comes in and finds these little nuggets, right? So obviously, like when you build these same game parlay products, I mean, obviously they're going to be flaws, and there will be places, like you say, as a beta, you'll find some weakness in there. Would I spend a lot of time probably looking for these things? Just no, but just purely because of the amount of like the over round you have to beat. Like from what I have seen out there in the industry right now, I mean, it just looks unbeatable. I mean, it's trying to beat 40-cent lines on any line. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, you've got 10% you've got to like basically account for. 5% this way, 5% the other way. Depending on how they chop up their vig. I mean, your time is just so much better spent trying to beat something where the vig is a little tighter, and really, how can anything be 5% off? I mean, that's kind of my position on it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. And does vig has predictive power? So if vig is bigger, can we assess that there is some predictiveness on the higher vig in some markets?
I mean, having looked at it myself, there's a lot of signal from vig in terms of like market strength. Absolutely. I mean, and that's what it's there for, right? I mean, you're not confident, you use more vig. You're confident, you use less vig. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here.
Okay. Sir Oliver Gibbons, it was a pleasure to have you on board. Wow. It's with immense pleasure I say this was a very fun chat. Some final words you want to send to the Brazilian audience and all over?
Oh, my Brazilian's a little rudimentary, so I can't give a very exclusive farewell in Brazilian. But I mean, obviously, thank you so much for having me. It was very, very nice to be invited to the podcast. I hope people found my little lame story interesting, and I hope people found some insights in what I had to say, or maybe even if they disagree with me, like they even learned something from that. But I'm very passionate about sports and betting. And I really enjoy what I do. So, if people want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, they want to work in this space, or they want advice, happy to have people hit me up on LinkedIn for sure. And I'd love to be invited back in the future. Obviously, thank you.
E foi assim que tivemos mais um episódio do SharpCast, um episódio diferente com o diretor de trading da Plannatech. Uma pessoa que trabalha há muitos anos na indústria e que tem muita experiência na criação de preços, na criação de modelos, e foi muito interessante ouvir as perspectivas que ele tem sobre algumas das coisas mais importantes que nos afetam no dia-a-dia, nomeadamente como pôr dinheiro, nomeadamente como conseguir e consolidar as nossas edges, as nossas vantagens. E, portanto, este episódio vai ficar por aqui. Foi um prazer enorme estar com vocês. Espero que gostem e até uma hora destas. Muito obrigado.